to show you how to make the Rise and Shine runner from Kreative Kiwi. For this I'm going to be using a 5x7 hoop, a layer of invisible mesh stabiliser, a selection of threads, some masking tape, T-pins, squizzers and my fabrics and batting cut to size. You'll find a link to this design in the video description below, and if you would like to win Kreative Kiwi loyalty points to the value of this design, then just keep on watching as details will be given further on in the video. We're going to start off by hooping our layer of stabiliser, so place it over the outer hoop, insert the inside one, and then we're going to pin around the top edge of the hoop to secure the stabiliser and prevent it from being pulled down between the two hoop pieces, and this is very important with this sort of design. So take your pin, place it on the inside hoop, push it through the stabiliser, bring it round and back through the stabiliser again, and you're going to secure it on all four sides. The larger your hoop, the more pins you will use. I'm just going to trim off some of this excess down the bottom here. If you're using a magnetic hoop, place your 2 layers of wash away stabiliser over the frame. Take your top and bottom magnets and place them first, and I just pull lightly on the stabiliser just so that there's no wrinkles, and then snap it in place, and be careful of your fingers because it will bite. And then we're going to do the sides, so just gently pull it out. And your hoop is now ready to use. Whichever file you choose, they're all stitched in exactly the same way. We will create the base and then it will be a series of colour changes for all the different elements. So you can follow this video no matter which panel you are stitching. I'm going to stitch panel B, which is the rooster, because it's the most detailed of all the panels. So I've loaded file B into my machine along with a black thread colour. I would advise you for the first 2 rounds of stitching, so for the placement outline for the batting and for the batting stitch down, to use a dark thread, as it will help you later on when it comes to joining your panels together into a runner. We're now going to stitch round number 1, and that's going to give us our placement outline for our batting. Place your batting over the outline and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 2 to secure it. Trim away the excess batting from around the edge of the stitch line, taking care not to cut your stitches. We're now going to place our fabric over the outline. So place your fabric and secure it in place. And I'm putting some tape on each side so that it keeps the fabric nice and taut for when it's quilted. Load your thread colour for the quilting of the background into your machine and then stitch round number 3, and I'm going with yellow. Load your thread colour for the cloud or clouds, depending on the panel that you're stitching, and then stitch round number 4. Load your thread colour for the rising sun into your machine and then stitch round number 5, and I'm going with yellow. Load your thread colour for the cockerel into your machine and then stitch round number 6, and I'm going with black. I would advise you to slow your machine down as the colours are now going to start layering one on top of the other, so your machine will stitch much better if it's going a lot slower. I'm stitching at a rate of 600 stitches per minute. Load your thread colour for the fence into your machine and then stitch round number 7, and I'm going with dark brown. Load your thread colour for the grass into your machine and then stitch round number 8, and I'm going with the dark green. And that's our panel stitched, so we can now free this from the hoop. All you need to do now is stitch the other panels, and then I'll show you how to turn them into a runner. So now we're going to put all our pieces together. I've stitched out the sashing strips and the cornerstones. Then you're going to cut them all to the same size. I've cut mine to 3/4 of an inch from the outside stitch line all the way around, with the exception of my panels, because I was a little bit scroogey with my fabric here on the width, because I don't have a lot of it left and I can't get any more. And I thought this fabric would go really well with this runner, so I wanted to use it. So unfortunately my sides on my panels aren't as wide, but it doesn't matter. So once you've cut all your pieces to size, then you're going to mark them up, and you're just going to take a ruler and a pen, and we're going to align these so that they run side on, and so that the cornerstones give you a return to either the top or the bottom. So these are going to go this way round, so I'm going to do my line from the second line out to the edges. And I can't see what I'm doing here, so if they're a bit squiffy, no, we're good. Okay, so you're going to do that on all your pieces, and with this one it will be here. And I do mine back and front so that when I come to matching them all up, it doesn't matter which way round they are, I've got a line. So you're going to do that to all your pieces, and when you come to do the long sashing, you're going to do those lengthways rather than widthways, because they're going to go onto the side of your panels. And these lines that we're putting on are going to be your guidelines for stitching, because we're going to stitch along there and then just follow that inside stitch line. That's why it's a good idea when you're stitching your first 2 rounds on your panels to use a dark thread, so that you can see on the back your 2 lines. The line that you're going to stitch is going to be the inside stitch line each time, so there's no guesswork there. So once you've done that, you're then going to clip all your pieces together. So you can see there, that's the cornerstone, and then I'll have 5 of these short ones, and then a cornerstone again. And I've just noticed I've got my cornerstone upside down. Let's just turn that around the right way. Okay, we're good. So this will join on to the runner, both top and bottom. You'll have 2 strips like this. You can either baste them or you can pin them or clip them. I prefer clips because it doesn't distort the fabric as much, but I do also baste, so all my panels will be basted before I stitch because I don't like it when it goes out of alignment. I like to make sure that it's all aligned properly. And then we're going to stitch them all together. So just so you can see, they're now stitched together and all the quilting lines up on every panel. I'm going to do exactly the same with the sashing and cornerstones, and I'm not going to force you to sit and watch me do that. So I'll put a timestamp for you to advance if you want to. So we've now got 3 long strips. We've got the top sashing, the runner and the sides, and the bottom sashing. And what we're going to do now is turn our top and bottom over, making sure that all our seams line up, and then we're going to secure it in place and then stitch as we did for the sashing strips. Now, because these are long, I prefer to baste. It's not so bad for the short pieces, but for the longer pieces, I just like it all to be held in place properly, because as you stitch, things can stretch and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to baste this now and then I will be back. Okay, so I've basted everything together and we're now just going to run straight the way down, again following the inside stitch line on each of the sashing and cornerstone blocks. Okay, so there we are, it's all sewn together, and you want to press all your seams outwards and flat. And next we're going to add the backing fabric, and I'm also going to show you how to do facing. We're not going to add bias binding to the edge, we're going to be facing it. So we're now going to add our backing. Now there's two ways to finish this. You can cut a piece of fabric slightly bigger than your runner, place it face down over the front so you've got right sides together, secure it in place, and then stitch all around the edge following the outside stitch line, and you will leave a gap to turn it, and then once you've finished stitching it you'll trim up the edges so that they're all nice and neat, cut your corners at an angle without cutting the stitches of course, and then turn it out the right way and stitch up the gap that you left to turn it. Today I'm going to show you another method, and we're going to be adding our backing and then doing some facing. So I've got my runner and I'm just going to move that aside for the minute. I'm going to place my backing fabric down, then my runner on top, and my fabric's a fraction bigger than my runner here, so, and we're going to be trimming that down in a minute, and I'm going to secure that in place. Now you can, if you want to, stitch these together just by following the outside stitch line that you've got all around the edge. I'm not going to do that. First thing I'm going to do is trim up my sides so they're all the same size, and I'm going to trim them to 3¼ inches wide. Okay, so it's competition time. If you would like to win Kreative Kiwi loyalty points to the value of this design, like, subscribe and share to support this channel, and give me one fun fact about chickens. This competition will close 6 PM Central European Time +2 on Sunday the 2nd of June, and a winner will be picked at random from all the valid entries. So be sure to check back and see if it's you. Good luck and thanks for taking part. To do the facing we need 4 5-inch squares, and you're going to press them in half. You want 2 2.5-inch strips of fabric folded in half and pressed the length of your runner, and you want 2 the width of your runner. The first thing that we're going to do is place our triangles with the raw edge towards the outside on each corner and secure it in place. Then you're going to take your strips of binding, and again you want the raw edge towards the outside of your runner, so it's raw edge to raw edge, and you're going to place them so that they half overlap, so they come to halfway on each of your triangles, and then you're going to cut them to length. And you're going to secure them in place. And you're going to do that on all four sides. And now we're going to stitch around the edge 1/4 of an inch all the way round. So 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way round. Okay, so let's get stitching. So now that all our facing pieces are stitched on, we're going to press these edges back . And you're going to turn it over, and then you're going to pull your side facing flat on the back and press. So before we go any further, we're going to nip off the corners so that when we turn our triangles, they sit nicely. Just make sure that you don't cut your stitching. Okay, so we're now going to turn this over and pull our facing back and just pop a pin in just to hold it in place for a minute. Just make sure that you keep your pins clear of your triangles. Okay, and next we're going to flip these over, and with something blunt just push the corners out. And now all you need to do is stitch along the edges here. You can leave these open because if you want to hang it, you can put a rod in there and you've got a wall hanging. It's really that easy. So I'm going to hand stitch this. I always hand stitch my backs. If you want to put a stay stitch in around the top on your machine, you can do so. Just follow the outside stitch line and that will hold it all down. So I finished stitching the edges, and that's the back, and there's the front. I hope you enjoyed this stitch along. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to be notified of new videos as soon as they're published. Do pop along to Kreative Kiwi's Facebook group. There's always lots of ideas, help and inspiration there for everybody. And thank you very much for joining me. You'll find a link to this design in the video description below, along with lots of other information such as where I get my supplies and some discount codes for you as well. Take care, and I'll see you next time.